Wasn't it? Hey, you know what? PJ, we tend to go live like 9 o'clock hits. We could be in the middle of a conversation, and DJ will see the 3, 2, 1. Okay, it's time to go live.
Yeah,
Same thing on my end.
That's right.
Exactly. Welcome everybody to another episode of Sales Chatter, and today we are going to talk about business, family, the good, the bad, and we should have actually said the unbalance, because if y'all are anything like us, sometimes we find there's an unbalance, and it's been a mission for me for years now to try and help salespeople really create that life, and the business kind of surrounds our life. But how many times have we not created that and allowed the business to control our life? To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly. Oh, Jeff's getting smoked this week.
3 seconds.
Yeah.
3 seconds.
Yeah. There we go. Good morning, everyone.
Yes, good morning,
Tuesday. It is. Tuesdays are awesome. Like Mondays and Tuesdays are probably some of the best days of the week. I don't know. And a lot of people call me crazy for that. But
I agree. I agree completely, because I feel like we still have the majority of the week. So like there's still so much that can be done. And so like it's exciting to me, like, yes, okay, we're not through the week yet. Let's what can we do? So
yeah, I guess it all depends on how your weekend was before, because if you really hit it hard that weekend, Monday is recovery, right? Just hell. And then Tuesday is like, all right, now I'm ready to start my week.
Yes.
I remember those days back in my 20s. Yeah, I remember those.
I remember those days yesterday. So
yeah, it's amazing, eh? So let me ask you this, because DJ, you brought up a very, very cool point there that I think needs addressing. Yeah. How many of us on like Thursday look back and go, "Oh my God, I have so much more to do, and there's only like a day left"? How many people do that? Do you guys do that? For all you watching and listening, yeah, and it's isn't it insane how fast time is going? Like I remember going. I used to play beer league hockey, shinny hockey with the boys, and I remember going. This is about 5-6 years ago. I said to one of the guys, I said, like I can't believe how fast the day is going. He goes, Dan, when you hit 40, decades go fast. And I'm like, come on, they do not. And all of a sudden, I'm 45. It's like instantly, it was like, oh my gosh, how did this happen? Like, and you feel it when you go to pick something up and your back goes. You're like, what the hell was that? Or you go to get out of bed and your knee twists. You're like, oh my God, what was that? And you're like, what is going on here, man? I'm 20 years old. I should be like super powered through all this. You're like, no, dude, that was half your life ago. You were 20 years old. Yes, the brain doesn't comprehend, right? Yes, Lisa says every week. She goes, yeah, exactly.
Good morning, everybody.
Dave says, exactly, DJ. Good morning, David. So today, we are going to talk about something that probably all of us are horrible at. When we selected the topic, PJ goes, yeah, well, I suck at that, so that'd be a great thing to talk about.
It's bringing me in to be an expert on suckage.
Exactly. Experts are just people that have a little bit more experience than anyone. And if you can find somebody that's 2 steps ahead of you, tag on to them all day long, because they'll take you where you need to go, as long as they're tagging on to somebody that's 2 steps ahead of them. But this whole, I don't know. I'm not a big believer of a work-life balance. I think that, no matter what, if you're a high performer, your business life takes up probably a lot more time than you would like from a balance perspective. But I believe there is balance in presence, balance in being there, right? I as much as it pains me, a lot of when my kids were younger, my wife was in a huge part of her career, and it was like we would literally be talking to each other, both of us speeding from different directions to daycare to try and get the kids in time.
Yep.
And then her career kind of ended once businesses closed, because she was in HR and payment services. But it was like ours just kind of took off, right? You know, the nighttime, the things not working right, the operations people calling and everything. And I found myself like sleeping with my cell phone, you know, like customers calling at 2 o'clock in the morning because you're like, oh, yeah, I'm available 24/7. You just call me anytime. It's like, and so, and here's what I realized. And this will probably, I think this will be a good kickoff is what can really get accomplished at 3 o'clock in the morning. Right? Like if paperwork's wrong, who's changing the paperwork at 3 o'clock in the morning? Because everyone else is like, dude, I'm sleeping. There's nothing you could do.
I will say I've accomplished some very weird shopping at 3 a.m. From Amazon. I'm like, what the hell is this?
What did I just buy?
That looks pretty cool. I need one of those.
I need it. I need to know.
Actually, it's a super interesting question because this morning I didn't know what the topic was, so I was literally thinking about that this morning in regards to how. So you mentioned you're 45. I'm 53, and my kids are older, and I have a 24-year-old and a 20-year-old in college, and the rest, right? I got 5, so I don't remember the rest. Anyway,
so you and DJ, you guys both like went without TV for a couple.
We almost
of years,
have a football team.
Yeah.
We almost have a football team.
I could be the punter. Right, like every year, I keep thinking I could be the third string punter for the Bears, and then. So, but I was thinking about like when I was growing up, or my generation, right, Gen X, like when we were in the workforce, we really there is a belief and an expectation of self-sacrifice when it came to work. Work was the pinnacle, right? That's what you hung your hat on because that's what everyone asks you. What do you do? Right. First thing, hey, I'm PJ, and blah, blah, blah. What do you do? Well, I do this. And that's how you identify yourself outwardly, at least to everyone else. And I was thinking about, because when my daughter was growing up, she was always like, I just want to work hard and get paid, and I want to have my own time. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't work that way. Right. Like it just, that's not corporate America. But now with the Great Resignation and how, the millennials.
Did you call it the Great Resignation?
Yeah,
I did.
I love that.
The Great Resignation.
Oh,
wish I had an echo thing on my board. Anyway, with that happening, I think that what that is a lot of people actually realizing, hey, my life is more than just the 4 walls of a corporation, and what is important to me really should be equally as important as what my job is. And I think that's what we're seeing today, or at least over the last 18 months, I guess, of what this Great Resignation has been, is people trying to calibrate that and trying to find that balance. And it's hard to do, but I don't think it's impossible. And I think that, working from home has forced a lot of people to try to figure out what that work-life balance is. And if you guys, actually, I don't know why I was just thinking about all this. If you remember early on in the pandemic, there was a gentleman who was, I believe he was in Asia, and he's on a conference call, and his little daughter came in, and she was like, doo, 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 doo. Yes. And remember the mom was trying to sneak in and grab the kid,
and she was like crawling down on the floor and kind of grabbed her by the collar and pulled her back.
If you think about it, that is old school hammering into current reality, right? Here's a man. He's like, oh, I'm, a gentleman. He's like, hey, I'm supposed to be Mr. Business Guy, and I'm working, and I can't let my family, interrupt this. And then you take that, a few months forward, and all of a sudden you have you have people with Zoom with, puppies on their laps, and their kids in the conversations all the time. And that's because that is life. Right? Like life is messy. The balance is hard. And I think that as we hopefully get better footing moving forward, I'm hoping there's a more intentionality, and there's more people really understanding what the balance is and playing that out for both their corporate life as well as their own.
Oh man!
They've even turned it into commercials about it. Like I think it's Folgers, where the guy stands up and he's in like his shorts, but he's got a shirt, a tie, and a jacket on, and he stands up and he's like in his shorts and he moves his camera. So they're even making fun of it, and it is. And there's two folds with working from home, right? Like I've worked from a home office for years, and then went back to a corporate office, and then back to a home office. My first time around when I was working at a home office, I never stopped. It was actually worse than when I was in a building, when I physically had to get up and leave. So I would be up at 5 a.m. and typically I would do the gym and then I would be gone to work, shower, change, go to work. Same thing would happen, except you shower, change, and you're immediately here. So there's an extra hour in the morning that you're putting time in. And then I found, and love your guys' take on it, I found it was, just give me 10 minutes. I just got something quick to do. And that 10 leads to 20, leads to 30, leads to 50. And all of a sudden, before you know it, my wife would come in and say, okay, we're going to bed. And I'm like, what's going on? And it's like, and it was bad. Like it was very, very, for me anyways, it was horrible because it was like this pursuit of a big dream. And that trumped everything.
Yep.
Everything, including family, including my wife, everything. It was, and I told myself lies that it didn't. I was like, oh, no. It's all good.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
all good. It's like we're doing this for the family. It's for you guys that I'm doing all of this.
Yep.
And you look back on it now and it's like, how would I ever do that? But that's just the frame you were in.
Absolutely. And it's an unconscious sacrifice that you're making, right? Because you're not consciously saying, sorry, sorry, son, sorry, daughter, sorry, wife or husband. I'm choosing work over you. You think about it as, I'm doing this for you, right? I am just like Nick's saying, right? I do this for you because this is how I get through the day, and this is how I'm able to focus on it. But I don't know. I think you're absolutely right.
Well, and PJ, PJ, you brought up some great things with what you talked about. First, I want to mention you brought up when you said Great Resignation. One thing that really triggered to me was that, and since we're talking kids, parenting, all of those things, I think this fits perfect. WALL-E. Have you ever seen the movie WALL-E? It really blew my mind the first time I seen it, because there's these people floating around and it was kind of like, when you said Great Resignation, was kind of like in the movie when they stopped staring at the screen and they seen the real what was going around. And they're like, hold on, what is this? I think in a lot of ways that was like what you're saying parents did with this Great Resignation. They're like, hold on, what is going on with my kids? What is going on at school? What is going on in all this world that I'm not paying attention to? And we got to.
Do you think they did that, DJ? Or do you think it was more along the lines of schools open, schools closed, schools open, schools closed, and parents finally said, you know what, we need to take this back into our own hands? And
yes, well, exactly, the uncertainty, but also
stability of children.
I think they're forced to see a lot that that certain parents look. Some parents are really, again, there's a fine mix. There's the helicopter parents that are just all over the kid's ass. There's the parents that
I've never heard that before. That is awesome.
There's the parents that do a good mix, and then there's the parents that don't give a shit. And the parents that don't give a shit, or the parents that do a good mix, I think they got the blinders pulled down and got to see, like, hey, look, this is all what's going on out there in the world when you're, so focused on work. I mean, at least that's what it did for me.
Yeah. So let's. So Kenneth says at 3:30 I do back office work and read industry articles. Yeah, 100%. You're still working. Yeah. Nick says, but what is life and what is unprofessional? Balance is harder now. I think that's a great question. Damon. Damon says, I've been able to get loads and make arrangements at 3 a.m. You'd be surprised what can happen. One example is working with Day and Ross's line haul. The BC shipment would get canceled at 3 a.m. I'd call those central dispatch number, and so many times I was able to get shipments to other Western Canada on their trailers just because I made the call. Same goes for repairs and many other things. I would much rather try to solve a problem immediately than leave it till morning, especially with any delays. If they weren't reported immediately, it could cause chain reactions in people's supply chains, etc. And actually, Damon is very right there.
Yes, agree.
Because I have left numerous messages for customers at 3 a.m. knowing they wouldn't pick up, but when they're up at 6 a.m., they start putting out the
Ready.
fire as opposed to 8 a.m. when you get in the office.
Yeah.
Nick says, very reconcilable, Dan. I do it. Yeah, that was the comment that PJ was talking about. I do it for you exactly.
Yeah.
Says, before you thought about work between 7 and 7 and family was after and on weekends. Now everything is together and juggling it all at the
That's
same
the hardest
time.
thing, because we're working for high achievers. I mean, we're working nonstop.
Lisa says something here, finding balance in the balance. I like
Well,
that.
and actually that's
Ooh.
the key, I think, right?
Yeah.
Finding balance in the balance, because it's very easy to get thrown off and to have too much in one pot. If you want to talk about supply and demand, everything in life is about supply and demand, and you really only have so much. And the one thing that we have that you don't know when it will run out, but you seemingly have an infinite supply of, but you really don't, is time, right?
Yes.
And there are moments, especially as a parent, there are moments that you're going to have where your children are going through milestones and are going through rites of passage and are going through certain things, and you don't want to miss that. And there's I don't know if there's ever been a successful business person who can look back and say, well, you know what, I made X for my company, but I'm glad I sacrificed that by not seeing my kids play, or by not coaching my kids team, or by not spending time with my children teaching them to read, or whatever, right? There's we have these high expectations of what a business person should be, but all of that is sacrifice of time. And so finding the right balance, just like Lisa said, finding the right balance in the balance, I think, is the key. Because you still want to be a great parent. If you brought a child into the world and you're accepting that responsibility, then hopefully you're taking that at the utmost importance and putting as much effort into that as possible. So finding that balance, I think, is something that is hard for people, right? And that's why we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's also, I can speak from personal experience. I did the coaching, I did the kids sports. And parents can be very judgmental, right, on each other. And it was, what I found was I was asking the questions, how does that parent have so much time, but I don't? So to be like, during the day, stuff at school during the day, and you have certain parents that can get to the school every day, all day long. And it's like, okay, I would always ask, like, what are they doing that I'm not? Right. And there was times when it was like, this is BS. How come you know what I mean? And there was all these other thoughts as I was maturing as a parent, as I was growing up and my kids were growing up. It was interesting because there's no playbook on it.
No.
Right. And as parents, we, you go to work, like, I sit here and every morning in my agenda, it says, who needs me on my A game today? Right. 99.9% of the time, it's my family.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. That's who
100%.
needs me. And when you ask that question, I find productivity triples.
Yeah. Right. Because
Every time you stare at a blank screen, every time you kind of sit here and you get lost in app amnesia, it's like, does my family need me to scroll through LinkedIn right now and read people's BS, or does my family need me to produce?
Yeah.
What does my family need me to do?
Being present is one of the biggest challenges, I
that.
think, of any parent, right? Just
Yes.
even now, my kids come in and I'm like either looking at something or whatever, and I know I'm paying attention. I know I'm giving the
These are the worst invention ever for them.
I know, right? I'm given the baseline mandatory answers of what I'm supposed to do as a parent, right? But am I really focused on the kid? And I've been thinking about that lately as well. Like, I got to put that down. I have to be able to just, as seemingly simple as a question may be, being there is the most important thing. And I mean, you're absolutely right. I love that. Who needs me to be on my A game? I'm definitely going to use that.
Mm-hmm. One of my mentors always said, they said, if you're looking for that balance, here's what you do. Okay, you're listening to it and you're in tune and you hear this thing going off. When it's done, hey, can you give me 10 minutes? And you leave. and then you come back to the conversation. And it was Brian Byro that said, he's very big on presence and seizing the woo and joy. And he was like that. He was at a major logistics company and transportation carrier, and he was never around. And when he finally realized that switch to his family, it was he talks about being fully present at every given moment, and that's the gift. The past is history, the future is a mystery. The gift is now. It's why they call it the present, he says. And it was interesting because you start thinking back to how many conversations we have. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I just got a couple of emails. And it's like, we don't consciously think that that's rude or ignorant or any, but it's if you're on the receiving
end,
if
you're on the other side,
are you serious right now? Like,
excuse me,
my kids are 20 and 22.
Yeah.
And it's like, we were on vacation, Wi-Fi shut down, and it was like the world was ending.
The world stopped.
It's like, oh my God,
that's what the nonverbal communication is saying, right? This in my hand is more important than you.
Yeah, 100%. Helicopter parents, I'll use that. Nick Romer, finding balance in the balance. Sorry, we already did it. Sorry, apologize. Love that, Dan. And then John says, love this show. Thanks, John.
Hey, thanks, John.
Hey,
so we're talking about balance. I got to throw this out there because I just seen it on Lewis House yesterday. I forget who he was talking to, so I'm so sorry about whoever he's talking to, but it was some kind of life coaching. But he talked about you only have 10. Everybody only has 10, and he broke it down with Lewis, and he said you only have 10, and there's 4 categories or 4 areas of your life: work, I think relationships, health, and one other thing. And he said you can, but 10 is the max. So if you're doing a 3 here and be realistic with if you're giving it all, you're putting a 4 there. But he talked about balance and about working in seasons. And so doing things, and he was so right, because I've gone through that recently. That's been kind of my battle and focus that I didn't notice I was doing. But these past 2 years, especially COVID and this whole thing, it was okay. Being very aware. So awareness and being really mindful to what's going on around you in your environment, but like your family, if your family needs more attention. And it's kind of like the seasons. And so, so I'm a 4 in family or relationships. I'm a 2 in work, but my health is not really that, I'm using up all of my energy in these, because you can only use so much. There's only so much that we can. If we're giving a 3 or a 4 effort in work, we're letting somewhere else slip. You see what I'm saying? And so it was just that balance and constantly really checking in. In Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights, he talks about it a lot too. And it's just checking in on the different levels, checking in on your spiritual bank. I think he calls it a bank, but checking in on the credit.
Yeah. And Green Lights, he does. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
that's a great book.
It is a great book, actually. He's a great guy. Anyway,
he really is. When you actually dig into his life and the type of person he is and stuff, like, he's an amazing man. He is. I remember he was on was he on Oprah? I think it was, and on the Oprah channel, and she did an interview with him, and he's like, my wife said you need to get the hell out of here right now, and he like sent him off into the desert somewhere in like a little tent to write the book. And he goes, but it was the most freeing experience. And he goes, and see, this is what it's all about. He goes, like, you got to understand, as an actor, you guys see us on this screen and it's like, oh my God, that must be awesome. He goes, you know how many hours you got to lock yourself in a room to remember a script? Mm-hmm. He goes, you got to study the characters if you're playing, like, when he did Dallas Buyers Club and all this kind of stuff. Like, he's done some pretty significant roles. He goes, like, the toll on my body to lose all that weight and to gain it back and to master the movements of people. Like Johnny Depp was saying when he was, Jack Sparrow, when he was kind of like trying to master the Rolling Stone guy, the guy that's pickled himself. Come on,
Steven Tyler, one of those.
No, not him. The guy that just won't die. What's his name?
Alice Cooper.
No. Alice Cooper. He wasn't part of DJ.
What, from the Rolling Stones?
Oh, Rolling Stones. Oh, I didn't hear Rolling Stones.
Guitarist, not Mick Jagger, but
No, gosh, he's like infamous. The guy's done
Yeah.
every drug under the
I know
planet.
what you're
He's
talking
pickled his
about, and I
body.
can't
Like
think of the name.
COVID couldn't even kill
he
him.
has no blood. It's just heroin.
Anyways, him. He goes like Johnny Depp says he spent like 700 hours watching how he
Is it
moved
Jagger?
and all that. Somebody will know his name.
I believe
Keith
Keith
Richards.
Richards.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank
Jeff,
you.
Mr.
Alice
Researcher,
Cooper.
Mr.
I mean, I know
Jeff.
I was off DJ, but Alice Cooper.
Hey, come on.
I need
Listen,
stronger coffee.
I didn't catch this. I didn't catch Rolling Stones. I'm sorry. I didn't catch that part.
So, so we look at, them and how they master their craft. Like you look at perfect examples of Jim Carrey recently. Jim Carrey says, I'm retiring from acting. They said, why? He says, I'm spending more time with my grandchild. I missed it with my daughter. I'm not missing it with my grandchild.
Yep.
You look at Jim Carrey, you go back, 20 years, Jim Carrey, he would lie in bed and he had $1 million check taped to his ceiling. It's the last thing he saw before he went to sleep, the first thing he saw when he woke up. And he says, I'm going to be an actor and I'm going to get $1 million check. When he got his first $1 million check, he put a $20 million check. When he got his $20 million check, he put a $30 million check. And he just kept doing that, the repetition, the first law of learning. And this was his thing. So he's come out and said, like, my life was the pursuit of that goal. I miss things. I wasn't able to do things. And people think when you have millions of dollars, you're able to do all this stuff. He goes, you just want more and more and more and more and more and more. And when is it enough? And he's finally realized. So he says, I'm done. I'm done. I'm spending all my time with my grandson. We're going to go fishing. And so he's just made this huge shift. But, and I mean, our industry can chew us up and spit us out easily.
Oh, yeah.
Easily if we allow it. Right. So it's that, I love that, the balance inside the balance. I don't even know where I was going with that, but probably the fact that Matthew McConaughey went out on his own,
sure,
secluded with your own thoughts. Because I think when we are together with our own thoughts, that's when things really hit us. Like it's all great and dandy. You're out serving customers and you're doing this. It's when you put your head down on the pillow at night, or when you turn on the shower and you're kind of just sitting in the shower and you're letting the water pour over you. It's those thoughts that can make a huge impact on our life.
Well, that's being mindful, right? And mindfulness is a tactic and a tool that I don't think we use enough, right? So definitely. I will do a little shout out to Maggie, because success is not happiness. Happiness is success. Yeah. So true, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and also shameless plug for the podcast, which is What the Parent. What I've learned in the many episodes we've done with What the Parent is, if you boil everything down about what people are talking about in regards to parenting or balance or anything, it's all intentionality, right? If that's the one word that comes out of all those discussions, it's intentionality, because you have to be directed in what you're doing and mindful enough to put those energies in what you want to do at the moment, right? So you really got to live in the moment, and you really can't go through life as a bumper car. You want to have your own lane, right? Because a lot of times we get buffeted by whatever's happening in the world, and whether it's whatever happens, it throws us off course, and that's life. But if we try to avoid the small bumps that knock us off course and just kind of keep going, right? Like today I'm going to be really intentional about helping my son build a computer. And then the next day I'm going to be really intentional about making sure that my daughter's heard about what she wants to do with her life in college. And I'm going to really spend some time helping her out with that. And I'm going to help my stepdaughter out with whatever she's dealing with. And these are all the things that, and of course, the most important relationship, my wife, I'm going to help her out by trying not to be such an asshole. Anyway, so it's all about being intentional. It's about what you're focused on, and really following through on that.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about intention, it's interesting because for decades I've been. You got to be intentional at work. Like when you get on a sales call, you got to be intentional about what you want out of the call, where the call is going to go, intentional about the next step. When you send an email, have intention about what message you're trying to drive. When you do anything, and then as soon as it goes to personal, it's like, hey, yeah, sure. What do you feel like? Oh yeah. And it's like that just vanishes.
Yeah.
Very true.
So it's interesting that you put it like that, because it is, intention drives everything. And when we have intention, we stay on the rails longer than when we're just, for lack of a better term, flying by the seat of your pants, Well, it's true. Like, so I look at my son's hockey, right? I started coaching hockey, and what I did with the coaches, the first thing I did with the coaches is I said, okay, here's the intention for the next month. We're going to work on this piece of the game, and then see how the games go, and then work on this piece. And it was like a step by step, but we drove with intention. So every practice we had the drills down. We had the intention of the drills, and we sat with the kids and said, okay, the intention of this drill, like when you do a ladder drill, the intention is acceleration, right? So how can you skip to get through faster? So it's like, okay, guys, so if you're going through at X speed, I want you to intentionally speed it up. And if you fall, it's fine. That's what it's meant to do. But it was just a 4-step drill that kind of got that explosive speed, but there was intention behind it. And, geez, that's such a good one, PJ. I think that's the message for the day is intention.
I'll take the check in the mail. That's fine.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. DJ will write it today.
That's right. And I will tell you, thank you, because it's like you just you guys are always leading this down the right road. Always leading it down the right road. Yes, intention.
No. So you're telling me you have a quote for intention?
Listen, I can't even believe, but you mentioned intention early when I caught and told you about the Great Resignation. That was the other thing, intention. I mean, we've talked about this. We had a show kind of about this, Dan. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Intention is so, you brought it up. I've heard it from so many people now. Oprah, when she starts every meeting, is what is the intention of this meeting? Because we really need clarity. Like, if we could just find the true intention and get true clarity right away to things, we don't have to waste so much time. And time is really the most crucial damn thing we got. So
it is. And if you don't have a goal, and no matter what you're doing, if you don't have a goal, then how do you know when you get there? Right. So, but it doesn't have to be the biggest goal in the world. No. It could be, hey, I'm walking into a sales meeting. My goal today is to find out what their pain points are, what their universal buying motives are, and what can I do to help put my company in the best spot to push forward. Right. Or it could be, hey, I just want my child to feel better today. Right. And how do I get to that? And going through that process and putting focus on that helps drive that forward.
Yes.
Yeah. Sweet. That is the big message for the day. Intention. Yes,
that's right.
What are you going to be intentional about today? Write it down. Follow the intention. And you know what? Share with us next week how well your days go when you operate with intention, because I think it's going to change everything.
It'll change everything. Mm-hmm. It will.
What do we got today, DJ? Tell me you have a quote about intention.
Oh my God. Not only do I have a quote about intention, but I have a quote about intention from your guy. So thank you.
It's not my guy.
Not your guy. Dan's guy. This is Wayne Dyer. This is a Wayne Dyer quote. So thank you everybody for joining us as always, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. till 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Join it and start your day right with us. Start it with intention.
With the original morning show. And I keep saying that. Yes, sir.
Bring it on.
The OG morning show right here, right now.
American Logistics. Thank you to Centurion Trucking. Thank you to Daman. Thank you to all of our amazing guests. The Queen still has her spot. You were very close this time, Jeff. I think we have to come up with a prize or giveaway. Maggie came up with that idea. Dan, maybe we give something for the first spot. But
for first place, winners, yes, yeah. I mean, we could do the top 7 places and get trophies if you want, but I figured we'd just do first.
Participation award. Just kidding. All right, y'all. Well, hey, thank you again for everybody. Thank you, PJ. Check out what the parents guys podcast about parenting, just intention, living life the right way. Wayne Dyer, like I said, here it is, guys. Our intention creates our reality.
There you go. So true. That's what I was saying.
To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversation.